how to manage money. So I'm really excited to come back and to discuss some things with you once more. I'm not going to slow down the process too much. I'm going to get started immediately. I might have a lot of information, so if anything, I'm going to try to keep it condensed and try to keep it engaging. Also, that way you can gain some of those financial skills that you can start practicing today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I will jump right in. And perfect. And if you can see my screen, go ahead and just put some things in the chat for me. Say a hello or a yes, you can see my screen, whatever the case may be. All right, I see a hello. Perfect, perfect. All right. So, as we said today, our workshop is called Money Moves. Like we said, Cardi B has said, I'm making money moves. Today, I would just want to give you some of those basics of some of the money moves that you could be making while you're in college that you also will be using once you graduate and you get that degree. So today, I'm going to break down our session into a few little bites. First, we're going to talk about earning money a little bit. Won't take too long as far as that is concerned, as far as the earning money. But then after that, we're going to talk about making plans with your money. Then how do you keep your money? And then after that, making your money work for you, and then leveraging your money. All right. So to start off today, we'll start off with earning money. Anytime I have a workshop, I love to share this nice little screen right here. Anybody want to take a guess why I share this screen usually? Just take a look at the screen really quickly, look at the information on it. What is it that you see that stands out on this screen? And you could put that right into the chat. All right, I got education is worth money. Anybody else? So perfect. Let's see. Education makes more money hourly. So you're both right. Basically, education makes your worth as far as money goes. It increases your potential salary once you graduate or as you go throughout your career. Now, I always like to share that we do have our phenoms, so to say. If you think about a Mark Zuckerberg who created Facebook, but didn't necessarily graduate from college, he's doing pretty well in life. And we have plenty of other individuals who have done well despite not earning a college degree. But when you look at the society as a whole, most of the time you look at the people who have actually earned their degrees, they're the ones who earn more as life goes on. I know that's my own personal story. I've been blessed myself to go ahead and get my bachelor's degree, move on and get my master's degree. I'm very proud to say that I've reached the position of being a director at the institution that I'm at now. So I feel really proud for that young kid who was growing up, who was trying to figure out his life. I've seen my salary go up over the last 6 years, which I'm very excited about. It's gone up by over 150%. So the reason why I say that is because I want to encourage all of you right now, as you are pursuing your education, just know that there is an end or a finish line at the end, and that you got to go ahead and stay committed to your studies. That way you can get to that point where you're earning a higher salary and you're able to create with some of the creative energy that you have, whether it's in an institution or whether you're going to be doing it through your own business. So definitely just want to remind you that the first step of managing money is going to be that you have to finish your degree, that you have to go ahead and use the information that you've learned and take that information to make you more money, whether that's starting your own business or working for a company. I always like to remind everybody, not everybody has to do what I did. You don't have to get a bachelor's degree. You don't have to necessarily get a master's degree. There are associate degree options out there. There are certificate options out there that lead to high salaries. Degrees such as process technology, when you're thinking about cosmetology, certain times software development. So just in case you're on this path right now and you thought, I'm going to be a nurse, and you came to a point and you said, I really don't like being a nurse, you might become a public health professional where you could go ahead and help communities understand policies. So I also want to remind you that just in case you're starting a particular degree that you may not like, you can switch. Sometimes it might be something like an associate's degree. You found out that cosmetology is more your style. Cosmetology is a great place for you to start your own business and also earn a significant salary depending on your client base. So one of the things I really want to push you to do, just in case, if you get a little stressed, or maybe you found out that the degree plan that you're in right now isn't for you, definitely consider other options. But always remember, the first step in managing money is you have to be receiving money. So definitely stay dedicated right now. Stay committed towards finishing your degree. A few careers here that breaks down some of the things that you could be studying, just in case you want to go with a 2-year option. If you're going with your 4-year option, then go ahead and continue on. But just wanted to give you that information. That's my way of like encouraging everybody to get that degree. All right. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and do a little scenario, but I'm going to need all of your help. So with this scenario, I need you to be writing in the chat. I like to do this because I don't like just talking at people and telling them how to manage money or things that they should be thinking about as they manage money. I like to have some type of participation. I like to make it hands-on, something that you could possibly touch or just get your juices flowing. So today, I want to give you a little scenario. We have a nice little congratulations here. You see the graduation cap. Let's imagine for a second that you just graduated. You graduated and this is your first year in your career. You're making about $45,000. That $45,000 comes out to $3,750 per month. Now, the good thing is this is your first career. This is your first job out of college. So what that means is most likely your salary won't stay here. Over the next several years, you'll see your salary grow. This is just your starting salary. With this starting salary, you are moving out on your own. So if I have anybody who's here who's under the age of 21, 25, and you just started college, imagine not being in your parents' household for the first time. If I have anyone who maybe has children and everything, I want you to ignore the children for now. You are single. This is your first time on your own. Your parents have told you that they are moving away and that you have to go ahead and establish your life. Good thing is you have the income to do it. And now with this scenario, you have $3,750. Now, with this $3,750, of course, your taxes, your health insurance, and your retirement is coming out. So your net pay is $3,000. So with this $3,000 today, what I want everybody in the chat to do for me is to go ahead and tell me how will we spend this $3,000 that we receive monthly, okay? Now, what I'm going to do right now, and I might just need you to confirm, I just pulled up a little chart here. Let me have someone confirm that they could see the chart. Perfect. So, to my audience, what I would like you to do right now is tell me what is the first thing that you would pay for with this $3,000 that you receive monthly? What's the first thing that you would pay for? I see housing, half on my savings, other half on classes. Now, I should remind you of this. You just graduated from college. So imagine in this scenario that you just graduated from college. Now, with the first suggestion, so that's the good thing. Maybe you're thinking about your master's, but the good thing is right now, this money is for you. You've graduated. You still got to think about your master's, but let's think about some of the other expenses that you might have in mind. So let's go with housing, right? We have Jennifer. Jennifer said housing. All right. So let's say in this scenario, we live in Houston. I like that. Somebody said entertainment. I'm going to put entertainment up there. Perfect. All right. So let's go ahead and look at housing. You're single currently. This is your first job. Anybody want to throw out an amount? What would be the average apartment, or what apartment would you prefer to live in with housing? So let's think about like rent. Right now, what would you pay towards rent? And you could go ahead and look on Google. If you want to look at some apartments, feel free to take a look at some apartments right now. Basically, we're going to think about different amounts that we should be thinking about in building this little financial model right now. So I have 950. Do I have any other numbers? Anybody else with another number? We got 950. So we have no other ones. So
we
let's
do have a couple of them. Sorry, Joel, cut in, but I have some people sending it to me, to the host privately. Make sure you guys put everyone on there. Yes. But I am getting 1,935, 800, and 1,250.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's perfect, because I was like, man, I don't see any numbers. Okay, so please make sure that you are using everyone, because this is a great chance for us to engage, and we're going to do this together. So just giving you some financial management tips. So I heard that we had 800, we had 950, we had 1,000, we had 1,250. I like that number of 950 just to start off with. Let's go ahead and do 950. Perfect. All right. So we're at 950. Now, here's a question for everybody. Do we want to go ahead and put entertainment right now, or do we want to take care of some other expenses? Seeing other expenses. So we're going to keep entertainment. I see food. All right. Let's move down entertainment right here for now. Perfect. And if I misspell anything, everybody do not judge me, because I'm moving quickly. So utilities, I like that. I just saw utilities. Of course, we need lights. We need to be able to pay for some of those things that will like power our apartment. So right now, we're thinking water, we're thinking some of the garbage disposal, different things that come along with an apartment. So before I go into utilities, I always like to share this story. When I first moved to Houston, I had just graduated with my master's from New Jersey, moved down to Houston. And, with my first job, I thought I had a whole bunch of money. I was feeling myself. I was like, New Jersey, the cost of living is so great in New Jersey, in Houston, that I'm pretty sure I could get an apartment downtown. And I actually was making about this amount right here. I was making about $3,000. And I remember going into some of those downtown apartments and them telling me that the rent was $1,500. And as soon as they said that, I would walk away, because one of the things that I knew that I couldn't do is I couldn't afford that apartment, because that would have been half of my income that I receive every month. So one of the things that I always tell people is, as you're looking at rent, you always want to be careful that you pick an amount that's under 30% of your salary, because your salary, of course, will go to different places. So just to move on and just to stay on schedule, we have utilities. How much would you pay for utilities for a one-bedroom apartment? Go ahead and throw those numbers in the chat for me. Do we have any numbers coming through? Oh, there we go. 200. I got 200. Any other numbers? Let's go with 200, which is still a good amount right there, right? Because you got to think about your electricity. You have to think about your water. You have to have these things so that you can power your apartment, and that way you're not sitting in the dark. So we have utilities. What's something else that we would pay? feel free to go ahead and put it on the chat, or you could go ahead and respond to me privately. That way I could go ahead and type it in. I saw somebody sent it to me privately. So just in case, what would we pay next?
We've got phone bills.
Phone bill?
Car insurance.
Car insurance. All right, I'm starting to see some. So let's go with, before we go with car insurance, let's do a car note. I see transportation. Let's see. So let's say your car note is about $300 just to start off, or I got $340. Now with $340, most likely you have like maybe a Toyota Camry, something basic, something that starts you off, which is a good thing, right? You could go ahead and go for the Mercedes Benz, but like we were saying, we always want to be aware of how much are we spending on one particular item, because that could consume too large a portion of your income. So let's go ahead and throw car insurance in there. And car insurance, somebody said, Jetta, just don't let it break down. So that's another thing that you got to think about, right? When you're looking at that vehicle, you got to think of it, is it a dependable vehicle? Is it a vehicle where you'll have to go ahead and take it into maintenance all the time? For instance, a Mercedes, a BMW, you are not just paying for the car note. You are paying for way more because those vehicles constantly need service. So when you're thinking about some of these financial decisions that you have to make, you have to think of not only the one payment that you will make for the item that you're purchasing, but some of those other things, right? So that's why we want to consider that. With car insurance, I saw somebody said, let's do $120 for car insurance. So $120 for car insurance, which is pretty good with car insurance. Now, if you are one of those people who are always speeding, always getting tickets, guess what? That car insurance rate goes up. Car insurance, just like utilities, is based off of how do you use that particular item. So with utilities, if you use it a ton, then it's going to go up. Car insurance, same thing. If you're constantly getting in tickets, if you're running into all these issues, a lot of times your car insurance goes up. So you want to make sure that you're making wise decisions, even in those small aspects. I love, somebody just said food. If you don't have food, what happens? You die. So we have to go ahead and put food in. I saw that, Robert. You thinking just like me. We got to go ahead and eat, right? So you're saying $100. Is that $100 a month or $100 per week? Week if you like to eat. So if you like to eat, of course, it's going to be about $100 a week, right? Now, if you're thinking economically, you might say, all right, I could do $100 per week, or you could do $75 per week. So if you're paying $100 on food, I couldn't see this one. Let's see. You need to host the next life hacking and tell us your ways. I agree, because I cannot do $100 per month. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's make it $300. So we're doing $75 per week on food. That's a good little budget there for a single person. If you like your protein, you could get your protein in there, get some greens in there, get breakfast in there. Of course, the best way for you to save money when you're thinking about consuming food is to go to the grocery store. The more you go out and purchase food, the more it costs. So those are some things that we have to think about. Now, one thing that I have to add in here is gas, of course. So early, I saw an amount for gas, which was about $30 a week, especially with our economy right now. Gas prices have been low, and you have a gas efficient Toyota Camry, that amount is good. We could do that 120. Perfect. Now, looking at this budget, you've done pretty good thus far because you have paid for the most important things: a place to lay your head, a way to get back and forth, which is transportation, go to work, all that good stuff. And one of the good things, you can take the bus everywhere. Just like Robert said here, you can take the bus. So if you live in New York or you live where I live currently in Pittsburgh, it was highly encouraged for you to go ahead and use public transportation. I actually get to ride the bus for free here in Pittsburgh. So I don't drive my car here because I work for the University of Pittsburgh. They basically give us free public transportation. So depending on the job that you're at, depending on the area that you'll end up living in, those are some of the things that you'll be considering in your own life right now. That's some of the things that you should be considering. Is it more affordable for you to be driving your car? Is it more affordable for you to go ahead and live closer, maybe get an apartment, get some transportation instead? So it's different things that you kind of consider when you're managing your money. All right. Looks like somebody was finally able to get. I'm sorry. I'm happy that you're able to get in there. Public transportation in Houston is awful. It is. You got to live in certain areas, so I can understand that. But even when you're thinking about cars, I've had students come to me before and take their whole financial aid refund check, and they'll say, I'm going to go ahead and take this $3,000, and I'm going to buy a car that has about 200,000 miles on it. And I'm just like, slow down, man. Slow down. We're not sure if that car is dependable. So those are some of the different things that you should definitely think about. What's a reasonable amount of spending on food with 3 kids? Woo! So that is a very good question. A reasonable amount, usually they tell you to kind of look at your income first and foremost. They'll say that you should be thinking about like 15% of your income goes towards food. Now, of course, depending on your salary, your salary might not cover that gap. So most of the time you want to be thinking about 400 to 500, especially with kids. You got to make sure that you're buying enough for them to eat, buying enough for yourself to eat. Now, one of the things that I will also suggest in those cases a lot of times is if there is, let's say, a public benefit and you're in college right now, you're pursuing your education and you have your kids also to feed, I will tell you, apply for SNAP. When I was in my master's program, I applied for SNAP because I was working in AmeriCorps, which was like a low income career. And I had just quit my job. I really wanted to be a nonprofit, but I was not earning enough money in that nonprofit at the time. So to supplement some of the money I lost from my job and to be able to, basically survive, I had applied for SNAP, especially as a college student. So if some of you are having some of those issues, I would definitely say that you go ahead and do that. It says, I tried already, full-time students don't qualify in Texas. Just in case, if you are working work study, I would say try that too. Try to look out for that also. I would say also go ahead and like visit some of the nonprofits in the area of Texas in Houston. For instance, like the Houston Food Bank, sometimes they have different options of what you should be considering. But I'll go ahead and just move on a little bit here because I know I have a small amount of time. I want to share some additional things with you. Just to finish off, I'm going to put cell phone. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this last part. Cell phone. Let's think about cell phone. I see 60. I'll go ahead and make it 60. Anything else that we can think of? Of course, we have entertainment. That's perfect. We got to have internet and possibly cable. I know a lot of people use Fire Sticks nowadays, so I will keep this relatively low for you. How about $70? There we go. We got what? I like that. Now I see everything coming in. Everybody's in here now. Toiletries. How much would we spend on toiletries? Anybody give me an amount? I see 50. Let's go with that. I like that suggestion. If you get Wi-Fi and buy a Fire Stick, that internet and cable might be lower, right? So the water and the electricity is included in the utilities. How about entertainment? How much do we want to spend for entertainment? Anybody send me an amount? And let me make sure that I am staying on time because I could talk all day and I don't want to do that to y'all. All right, entertainment, $100 per week, month. What are we doing there? $150 for entertainment. So that would be $150. That would be roughly about $35 per week. Let's do 200. I'm going to give you at least 50. Now, last thing that I'll just throw in there is say we have student loans and your student loan payment is $200. Is there anything else that we want to throw in there? That's true. You get Netflix, Hulu. Is there anything else that we could think of that we want to throw in there? Some clothing. I see somebody said clothing. How much for clothing? Savings. Somebody said savings. I like that. Good thing about health insurance in this scenario, your health insurance has already been paid. That was taken from your gross pay. So right now we're just dealing with net pay. In this scenario, that's not always the scenario. How much do we want to put towards clothing? Anybody? $150 for clothing. Nah, I say almost 200. I like 250. All right. 200. Let's do 200. I'll go in the middle. Somebody said 500 for clothing. All right. Now, if you do 500 for clothing, I want you to be aware of this. Check this out. You're going to negative. So that might not be the best thing right now to go 500 in the clothing, right? So I'll do 200 for you. Plus, somebody said, who buys clothes every month? That's true. So that's the good thing about clothes also. But you can plan for like when you want to go on a shopping spree. Or like right now, as we're preparing for the holidays, you can plan for that as well. For savings, how much are we going to do for savings? $190. So somebody said, let's take the rest of the $190 and save it. Everything that is left, invest. All right. So you used up your whole salary, and what you have just done is you created a zero balance budget. You balance your budget down to zero. If you go to church, you will have to tithe out of this. So zero base. Thank you. Somebody said zero base budget. Thank you. So if you go to church, you do have to tithe. But one of the things that we just did here, just really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and pull this down now. Somebody said, is it bad that we brought up a zero-based budget? It isn't, because the good thing about this is in the process, you actually are still saving money, which is a good thing. If you weren't saving and you were just living from paycheck to paycheck without actually having a stockpile, then I would be more concerned. There are some things that we could do here to fix this, but essentially what I really wanted to come to this point and discuss with everybody, if you don't give your money a job, it will find its own job. Thank you. Somebody went ahead and stole my point, but that is the perfect point. If you don't give your money a mission, a job, if you are not taking that time, don't worry about it, Jennifer, it's all good. At the end of the day, that money is going to leave your pockets. Now, I know it may sound boring when people say this, but budgeting is the most important tool in managing your financial success. Now, number one is income, of course. You have to have the income coming in. Now, anytime I speak with a student, if I'm speaking with a client about their financial future, I'm always focusing on what money do they have coming in. If you don't have enough money coming in, then for what it is, you can't really control the expense side, especially if your expenses are fixed, they are already in place. So one of the things that I want you to be thinking about is always be mindful of what income you have coming in. But then number two, start to think about your expenses. Some of the places where we mess up in managing our finances is we don't take the time to actually make that plan so that we don't spend too much. So you always have to be mindful of what money do I have coming in? What expenses do I have to pay? Sometimes the way to fix some of your money woes is to bring more income in. I'll give you the perfect example. So about 2 years ago, I had an okay salary, but I was spending more money than I should have been. I had to go ahead and fix my expenses, get my expenses lower. But in the process, I noticed that I had to pay back some debt. And unfortunately, I still wasn't making as much money to pay down my debt as I wanted to. I wanted to pay down my debt within 1 year. I wanted to be debt free. So one of the things that I decided to do is I went ahead and I reached out to a company called Shipt, and I started delivering groceries while working at the institution I was working at is College of the Mainland at the time. While working at College of the Mainland on the weekends, I would go ahead and deliver groceries, and I would make an extra $200 to maybe $300 a week. And that money that I was making from Shipt, I was using that to pay for my debt. So definitely, you always want to be mindful of first that income side, but then the other thing that you want to be very mindful of is your expenses. Are your expenses too high? Sometimes people just tend to like forget about the expense side and not be mindful about that outweighing their incomes. So one of the things that I really want you to be mindful of is things like impulse buying, where you're just walking by and you be like, you know what? I really want to purchase this right now. Always be careful. Like, let's say you're going to the grocery store. You want to go to the grocery store with a list, because one of the things that the grocery store does is they advertise in a specific way. So when you think about purchasing milk, maybe you go to the grocery store and you just have a plan to purchase milk. You have to go all the way to the back of the store, which most people purchase milk. On your way to the back of the store, what do you see? Advertisements. We live in a consumer society. So they're constantly trying to get us to consume from the money that we have. So one of the things that I want you to do is when you prepare a budget, even make it detailed in some of the expenses that you'll make. For instance, if it's not good for you, if you go to the mall and you always purchase things, as soon as you get to the mall, you're like, I gotta have it, and that breaks your budget, you might have to go ahead and say, I'm not gonna go to the mall. Either that, or you have to come up with a specific amount of what will you spend at the mall. And I see everybody's putting some tips in here, so I'm really happy. Please share your tips, because we know we're all here to help one another. So definitely, please feel free to put some of those tips in there. The main thing is, do not bite off more than you can chew. Don't be motivated by what everybody else is getting. Just because your friend may go ahead and let's say you go into your career and you see a friend gets a Mercedes and you're constantly competing with this friend. If that doesn't fit your financial situation, then don't get it. Or easier said than done. I won't lie to you about that. But one of the things that we have to also do when we think about managing money is, number one, managing money does come down to the math. But number two, it comes down to our behaviors. It comes down to how we feel. So sometimes we have to check our feelings. We have to check our emotions so that we can make informed decisions. I always tell people, my goal is not to tell you you can do this with your money or you can't do that with your money. My goal is to help you make informed decisions. Whenever somebody makes a decision for you, you kind of rebel against that person and you'll do the opposite of it. So I instead love to tell people, think about, what do you want in life? What are some of the things that you want to accomplish? What's some of your financial goals? And then from there, start to think about ways to get there. Now we can make informed decisions. So definitely have a plan. Be careful with instant gratification, a few things here, and I'll make sure that I get this PowerPoint out to you so that way we could think about things that can make us more responsible in managing our finances. So some of the things that you have to think about when you're building a healthy budget is, number one, think about your needs versus your wants. So when I say needs versus wants, number one, housing, transportation, food, those are needs. Entertainment, it's a need too, but there are different modes of entertainment. So you can lower your entertainment budget where you can't lower your rent budget immediately, because sometimes you're in a lease for a year. And if you get out that lease, it's going to hurt your credit report. So that's why you want to think about your needs versus your wants. And you want to make sure that you go ahead and make decisions in that way. One of the things that I remind everybody, please remember to put some form of entertainment in your budget. Whether it is going to get a coffee with friends, maybe on the weekend, maybe that's your weekly entertainment, maybe it is watching TV. The reason why I say that you need entertainment It's because if you're constantly working, if you're constantly going to work and you're going to school and you're not having any entertainment, what happens is we burn out. And when we burn out, we have a tendency to spend money. Either that or sometimes it can impact our mental health. So we have to find affordable ways to go ahead and have some entertainment. So if that's just having a coffee on the weekend, go to a coffee house, have a good chat with friends, then that's what it is. If it's going out to the woods and just having a chance to go fishing with some friends, then that's what it would be. Now, if you are the person who likes to go to the club, that's okay, but the club is dangerous. I know. You can spend a lot of money there. But think about some forms of entertainment. Remember, you are not a robot. You need to think about entertainment. Now, the other thing that I would tell you, this second point right here, create a system that works for you. In creating a system that works for you, basically that's taking the time to consider dates, payments. Is it easier for you to do automatic transfers? Is it easier for you to do a cash-based system? You have to have a system after you create your budget. So for instance, you have two paychecks and maybe your rent consumes a large portion of your first paycheck. One of the things that you can do is split your rent into two monthly payments or two payments for that month. So maybe you only want $400 to come out of this paycheck, $400 to come out of the other paycheck. That way you don't feel like you've lost so much money in your first paycheck. Those little things of creating a system really helps you in managing your finances. Number three, I want you to see if you are staying true to what you put down in your budget. Whatever you put down in your budget, at the end of the month, you have to do something that our parents used to do. Close that checkbook. Now, it may not be a checkbook for you. Maybe it's going ahead and using a Microsoft Excel sheet and saying, all right, this is where I started, this is where I ended. Sometimes you can use apps like mint.com. A lot of these banking apps now, they allow you to track what you have spent. So take advantage of some of those free resources that's available for you. Lastly, if it is not working for you, make sure you reevaluate your budget. The good thing is a budget is a plan and you can change it at any time. So I want to remind you, the first step to managing money, of course, is making sure you know where your money is going. But you also have to have a system in place. Make sure you go ahead and track if that system's working for you. But lastly, include entertainment because you have to have some fun in the process, but also reevaluate your budget. If it's not working for you, maybe you need to tweak some things. And sometimes it may mean that you have to add some income, add some resources, whatever the case may be. Take that time to go through those decisions. One of the things that I always want to remind you, just because you make a bunch of money doesn't mean that you will keep money. So please make sure you are thinking about your decisions. Somebody can make $100,000 a year and still not be saving. And I've seen it when I worked in the banking industry where I would see people who worked in a pharmaceutical company who earned a ton of money. And in my mind, I'm like, if I'm earning over $100,000 a year, there's no way that I will be paying overdraft fees. But I've seen it. So that's one of the reasons that you want to make sure that you are taking the time, make a plan with your money. Now, one of the things that I want to go ahead, I love that comment. So, just in case somebody, if one of your habits is like, having a smoke here and there, and that helps you to relieve your stress, I would say you can do that. But just to be careful health-wise, think about that. You want to make sure that you're thinking about things from all areas. Whatever is your habit that you enjoy or that's in your entertainment, enjoy your entertainment. Now, the second key that I want to give you to managing your finances or to just be financially well is to practice saving. So I'm happy that you guys took the time to mention saving. But one of the things that I want to challenge you, I'm going to move on from here and I'm going to go to this slide because I want to touch some more things with you, but I also want to finish on time. So one of the things that is very important as you are building your budget, you need to be mindful of saving. A lot of people tend to think of saving as only being for emergencies. And I want to challenge you not to think of saving in that regard, because when you think of saving only as an emergency, if an emergency doesn't happen, guess what you do? You start to spend the money. because you feel like, you know what, well, emergency doesn't happen. I'm pretty young. I can make it. I'm good. I'm just going to go ahead and have a good night. And then it encourages a trend. And then you start to spend the money that you've been saving. When it comes down to it, you also save for opportunities. So what do I mean by opportunities? Maybe you're thinking about a small business that you may be thinking about starting one day. Maybe you may be thinking about a vacation that you want to take. Maybe you may be thinking about purchasing a home right after college, or you just want to be more prepared for that. Maybe it's a new car that you want to get that will help you to promote a business or help you to explore different income avenues. The main thing is saving is the way for you to go ahead and put money aside for the future, for future investments that you have. Whether it is investing in the stock market, whether it is purchasing a home, whether it's something as simple as traveling, saving opens those doors. So that's one of the reasons why I want to tell you to really focus on saving. I love what we did with our budget. We thought about all our needs up front, and then after that, we put our wants and we left saving for last. I want to challenge you to do something called pay yourself first. That is taking the time to figure out what percentage of your income will you save. And just like you pay, let's say you pay your rent, you pay your cell phone, you pay all those individuals when the month starts, right? One of the things that you do is as soon as the month starts, you pay yourself before you pay those individuals. The reason why they say that is paying yourself first is because you went out and you worked for this money. You made it a priority to keep some of your money. The same way that you give them some of your money is the same way that you need to go ahead and give yourself that money. Now, you may say, well, I have to think about, the amount based off of my needs and everything. And you will. You'll have to see, all right, what's possible based off of the expenses that I have. But I want you to be very intentional. So if you say you're going to save 20% of your income, save 20%. Somebody said, what type of doc do you suggest for budgeting? So if you're thinking about a type of doc, you can do an Excel sheet. There's plenty of Excel sheets out there. I'm more of an app user, so I use the Bank of America app to go ahead and do my budget. But some of the other apps that's available out there is like mint.com, there's everydollar.com. Towards the end of the chat, I'm also going to encourage you to maybe meet up with some of the financial coaches that's on campus for you to meet with. They're there to help you through that process. So definitely taking advantage of some of those apps that's out there. If you're an app person, if you're not an app person, there are Excel sheets out there. You could go in Microsoft Excel right now and it'll give you some apps. I love some of these comments that you guys are putting in there. Keep throwing those comments out there. Somebody said, pay yourself 10%, at least 10%. 10% is a great starting place. So yeah, let's get some of those comments out there. Let's help one another get there financially. And we have it here. Save at least 10% of your income just starting off. Or you could start small. Maybe this is your first job out of high school. And right now you're not able to go ahead and save at least 10%. You could start off with something as simple as $50 a month. I always tell people saving is just like working out. When you work out, if you go ahead and you start off with small things, doing push-ups, maybe taking a walk, it builds over time. So sooner or later, you get in the swing and you start to say, you know what, I want to challenge myself more. But if you go too big and too hard in the beginning, what happens is just like working out, you stop doing it. So go ahead and start thinking about small ways to save, because if you develop the habit, you'll go ahead and start to increase over time. I saw a great question here. How does the envelope system work? Essentially, with the envelope system, you get paid and you take cash out. So you'll take the cash out of your banking account for your expenses and you put it in your envelope. When you put it in your envelope, you write down exactly what is it that you're spending for this particular amount. You put everything in an envelope and you pay your expenses in envelopes. That way, it's basically a cash-based system using an envelope. That way, you're not spending more than you're supposed to spend. So that's what the envelope system is. So some of the things to help you save a banking account, having a savings account, just to start off with. A lot of people tend to just use their checking account for everything. And the bad thing about your checking account is you keep swiping that debit card, or you go to the ATM and you're taking money out of that checking account. So to be intentional about saving, it's important for you to have an account that will transfer, that you can transfer your savings to. Sometimes I even encourage people to have a checking account with their primary bank. And then if you want to go ahead and have a savings account with like a smaller bank, that way it's harder for you to reach that savings account. So many things that you can think of. Other things that you can use for savings is automatic transfers, and automatic transfers could be used also to pay bills online. So if you set it up in your bank account that on the first, I'm automatically paying my cell phone bill, and I'm saving $200-300 in my bank account. After that, it's going to automatically do it for you. You don't even have to look at it. So that's one of the reasons why you can take advantage of automatic transfers. Small things like keep the change. Keep the change is basically, let's say you break a $5 bill and you spent $3 and you had $2 left. You take that $2,000, and then you throw it into, let's say, an envelope, or you go ahead and throw it into a jar. I've seen people do that where they'll say, I'm just going to save loose change, or I'm going to save my $2. Some people may say, I'm going to save all of my quarters, my dimes. Personally, I'll be honest with you, there's been times that I ran into tough situations, especially as a college student, and I had a bunch of quarters, dimes, pennies that I was saving, and I went and cashed them in, and they would get me through a tight spot. So simple things like that helps to encourage saving. Some of your income tax returns, financial aid refunds, all those lump sum amounts that you receive, those are great opportunities to save. I know it's tempting to spend it, but it's also great to go ahead and save it. So you can start a savings challenge with your friends. Maybe you hold each other accountable. Like, look, we're going to save $5,000 this year. What would we have to do to save $5,000 this year? We would have to save about $400 a month in order for us to reach that goal. And then the two of you are encouraging each other to keep going through that process. You see couples do that a lot when it's time to get married. I've seen friends do it. So it's so many things that you could do. Joining a match savings program, that's another suggestion that I would give you. So let's say an IDA account, sometimes nonprofits will do it. It's not as popular, but if you find a match savings program where they say, if you save for every $3 you save, we'll match it with $2. A good example of that is like a 401k, for example, with your when you go into work, where they say you save 10% of this, we'll match the 10%. So just a few ideas for you. So I'm not going to have time to get through my whole presentation, but just to go ahead and give you a quick reference, some more information. When it comes down to it, with your bank account, you want to make sure that you are opening that checking and that savings account, but you also want to make sure that your bank account doesn't charge you fees. You should be asking those questions. This is a great time for you to sign up for student bank accounts. Definitely take into consideration whether they have branches, ATMs, technology, and you want to make sure that they're federally insured. That way, if the economy goes under or the bank goes under, your money isn't lost. So I saw you guys mention investing. One of the things that I really want to mention to you, a great way for you to start investing is by saving first. And even with saving, that starts off with budgeting. You have to know what portion of money are you going to put aside to save. And then after that, you got to figure out what portion of your savings are you going to use to invest. Now, you shouldn't use your whole savings to invest. You want to find out a particular amount that you want to use to invest, because always remember, with investments, there's a chance that you can grow that investment, and there's also a possibility that that investment may not turn out the best way. One of the things that I want to remind you, though, is they say that the stock market is the best way for you to invest money over time. If you're going to be a day trader, that's a little bit different. You might be playing with riskier stocks and stuff like that. But as you think about like over time and you find the right companies, those are some of those times for you to really take advantage and grow your money. To go ahead and touch on a few different ways that you can invest. Of course, you have a certificate of deposit. Doesn't give you that much interest, but it's something for you to think about. It gives you like probably 1%, maybe 0.5 of interest, but some interest depending on the amount that you put in. You also have bonds. Bonds are investment vehicles that, let's say a company, just like we go to a bank and we borrow money from a bank, and we pay the bank over time. Basically, that's what a bond is. So let's say a company has the they need money right now, or they need some financing so that they could go ahead and grow their company. What they'll do is they'll put out bonds, and individuals could go ahead and lend the company money. In return, as the company makes money, what they do is they pay you in installments. So you get that installment plus some interest. So that's one of the investment types that's out there when we think about the New York Stock Exchange, some of the things that they have us to track. Some other things that you could do in the investment world, of course, is stocks. So when you think about stocks, basically you're an owner of the company. Now you're an owner of the company, by a small portion, depending on how much money you put in. But as the company makes money, you can receive stipends from the company, but you also could watch that investment grow over time. So that's one of the reasons why, saving starts this process of investing for you. The other thing that you could think about is real estate, of course. So definitely, if you are interested and you're great with your hands, real estate might be a great place for you to invest. But understand that there are costs that come along with all these investing methods. So one of the things that I encourage students to do is definitely take advantage of going to Investopedia, Bankrate.com, look into some of the different investments out there and find the one that's good for you. Now, the last thing that I just want to go ahead and touch, and I'm going to go right into questions. I'm sorry, y'all, I had so much information for y'all. So the last one, I just want to go ahead and encourage you to just manage credit. Credit is how you leverage some of your finances. So just in case, if you don't have the income to purchase your first home, most people take out a home loan. In order for you to use that money or to be able to get credit or get a loan, you have to have a good credit score. So just in case you haven't started building credit yet, I would encourage you to definitely start looking into credit. Great places to look to build your credit: Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Those are the three big credit bureaus. They have great information on how to build credit. And also, just because I'm running out of time, I would highly encourage you to reach out to some of your HCC financial coaches. Remember, I started off as an HCC financial coach, so I would say reach out to them just to get some more information on how to build credit, different things that you should be thinking about with saving, budgeting, all of those good tips. I'm going to close today. That way I could get some questions, but I want to finish by just giving you the email to the HCC financial coaches. They could go ahead and have those conversations with you on a one-on-one status. I wish I had the time to really sit down with all of you and kind of go through those financial plans, but I have my students here at the University of Pittsburgh that I have to do it with. So that's why I would encourage you to definitely reach out to the HCC financial coaches, have some of those questions with them. They do take appointments. That gives you the opportunity to build on your finances. So I have a question here. How do you build your credit as a student when you already have bad credit? So that is a very good question. Number one, it's a question of how old is some of the information that's on your credit report. Negative information and positive information can only stay on your credit report for 7 years. So if you're in year 5 of some negative information being on your credit report, I would encourage you to not pay that bad credit line, because soon that credit line is going to fall off. And if you start to make payment on that credit line, then it will be on your credit report for another 7 years. Most of the time, companies have kind of given up on trying to get that portion of funding. So it's better for you to let that credit line fall off of your credit report. But in the process of doing that, you also have to start rebuilding credit. So one of the things that you may want to do is get a secured credit card where you go to a bank and you open a savings account with them. And let's say you put $500 in this savings account. The bank will then give you $500 in a credit card. Now, the reason why it's called a secured credit card is because if you don't pay the credit card, let's say they send you a payment for something that you bought with the secured credit card, what the bank can now do is they could take the $500 out of the savings account. That $500 in the savings account is locked, so you can't use it as a regular source of funding. So it's safe for the bank because now they don't have to worry about the risk of you not paying them back. So that's why they call it a secured credit card. So that's one of the ways that you can rebuild your credit, but you also have to look at some of those things that you can pay. Sometimes if it's like very recent and you have the opportunity to pay something on your credit report, it looks better that you were responsible enough to pay something, even though, you know, you may have missed the payments on it. So those are some of the things that you should consider. What advice do you have if you're a contract worker, meaning your income is inconsistent? How can you budget your money, not sure what is coming in? So that is always the most difficult thing. I can't lie to you. Anytime I have met with a student and let's say they are a waiter or waitress and their tips are constantly fluctuating, it is very difficult in finding like a bottom ground or a middle ground for them. Most of the time, I would advise you to start off with your lowest expectation and to build your expenses based off of that. So let's say maybe one month you made $3,000, but another month you only made 1,500. Plan based off of the 1,500. It's either you plan off of the 1,500 or you start to like think about other income streams that are more consistent. The reason why you go low, because if you start off low, then at least you have an expectation of, okay, this is what my expenses will be steadily and I'm able to handle it. If it is like, if the inconsistency is breaking your bank account, I am going to tell you, please reconsider another contract or reconsider the field altogether. Um, at the end of the day, you got to start off with some place. I would say start off with the low ball of what your income will be and then build your expenses. But if it's terribly inconsistent, definitely start to think of like another contract, maybe another field, or find a way to supplement some additional income. You know, maybe it might be like I shared with you, you know, doing some of those apps where you deliver food or deliver groceries. Maybe you come up with your own idea of how to manage, you know, create things. You know, if you have a great business idea, I definitely want to encourage you to think about that. Do I need to have a deep understanding about investment before I invest in stock market, or as a student with zero experience, what stock market should I start with? So what I would tell you to do is right now, take advantage of research. You don't need, I won't say that you have to be a stockbroker per se to start investing. But when you're thinking about stocks, you can do it on your own, but you can also pay individuals to give you information of where your stocks should lie. So one of the things that I would really encourage you to do is start to do more research. Number one, I would encourage you to go to, and I'm going to put it here in the chat really quickly, go to Investopedia and start reading up on some of the information. That's investopedia.com. You could go to bankrate.com. And another resource, EDX, investing. Harvard and MIT have a website right now called EDX. If you put EDX and put, you know, investing, put Harvard, one of the good things is there's a free courses on like investing, things that you should be thinking of. It's not going to give you strategies, but it's going to give you the basic understanding. Take the basic understanding. Then after that, start to kind of wet your beak a little bit. You know, you can use things like Robinhood. There's so many different things that you could use. What if I'm an international student? Is there any way to work because I just moved here and this is my first year in the US? So that's a tough question. The most I could give you is to go to the international students office and check with them. Most of the time, they're going to tell you that you can only work at HEC. You can only work at the institution that you're at, unless you receive an exception based off of a hardship. But I would say speak with the international students office on that. But if you can find a job within HEC, you know, go ahead and network, then I would say to go ahead and do that. So I know that it's hit 2 o'clock. I will go ahead and also contact Career Services Department on campus. So make sure you contact the Career Services Department. So if you want to follow up, go ahead and email the HEC financial coaches. There should be a financial coach at each college, so that way you can take advantage of that. I'll get this PowerPoint out to you. Thank you for being such a great audience. I look forward, maybe in the future, I'll have a chance to do some more workshops with you. depending on, availability, all that good stuff. But thank you so much for coming today. And I just want to say thank you for HEC for bringing me out. I do miss all of y'all. All of you are family. I miss being in Houston. But at the end of the day, I know that all of you are going to do great things, and I can't wait to see you guys again in the future.
Thank you, Joel, for the tremendously helpful information, and all our attendees for joining us today. I do want to remind everyone, if you missed a little of the beginning, you can always check out our Student Life YouTube for the recorded session. I'm going to go ahead and type it in the link in the box so you guys can check it out. And I also want to remind the attendees that you will be entered into a $25 gift card raffle for participating today. So be sure to check your HCC email by the end of the week to see if you won. And with that, we will conclude today's life hacking webinar. Let's see. If you guys want to take a screenshot of the information, I just posted it on the chat box, okay? All righty. Thank you, guys. I wish you all a wonderful day.